Story 1. Recently, I attended a wedding. The groom's mother had recently passed away. The groom's father arrived with a young blonde woman whom the groom had never met. The father caused a disturbance when this young woman was not included in the ceremony where his late wife would have been. Story 2. My ex used to ruin my birthdays. I spent 5 years having awful birthdays because of him. I would wake up excited in the morning for my birthday, only for him to start arguments and say some of the meanest things possible. No gifts, no trips, no dinner, nothing. Story 3. I loved my mom, but she was difficult to relate to. When I was a senior in high school, we presented our senior projects one day. It was a significant event. I received a great grade despite the projector not working, and I had to start my presentation without my PowerPoint at first. I was very nervous. After the presentations, the seniors gathered in the lunchroom for food and an emotional speech from the principal, and we all shed happy tears. I went home and told my mom about how well it went and how we cried. She snapped, "What were you crying for?" I was taken aback, not understanding her hostility. "What do you mean? You always said you hated that school. Why were you crying?" I didn't know how to explain that after 12 years in school. It's emotional that it's over, regardless of my feelings about it. She continued to yell, as she often did, even though no one was listening, while I changed my clothes and slipped out the back door to cry in the park across the street. Story 4. When you are at a gathering, have had a drink, and are feeling slightly tipsy, not quite drunk, you feel energized, motivated, and generally enjoy the company and your state. Then, one person makes a comment like, "Someone is too excited about this drink," or, "You need to learn to have fun without alcohol," in a lecturing tone. I had a tough week and was looking forward to this gathering. I am not consuming excessive alcohol in a dark room alone. Just let me enjoy my glass of wine. Story 5. My work is easy, and I am quite good at it, but difficult coworkers are making my life challenging. This is possibly the best job I have ever had, if not for them. They are close to getting me fired, but they will likely succeed in getting me to quit first. Story 6. On my wedding day, my sister asked me why I had to show so much cleavage. My dress had 2 layers. The first was a scoop neck satin sheath, while the top layer was all lace with a boat neck cut just below my collarbone. I felt paranoid until after I changed to leave for my honeymoon. Story 7. I was teased horrifically in elementary school. I had no friends, and kids would go to the back of the recess line to avoid being around me. My mother, stepfather, and I moved when I was transitioning to 6th grade. I finally made some close friends, and we celebrated our 6th grade graduation with families invited. It was a small school with maybe only 15 kids in total. I wore my favorite dress, and my mom and grandma helped me do my hair. I felt so good about myself until my stepfather came up behind me at the graduates' table in front of everyone and slapped a huge slice of cake in my face and down my dress. I ended up crying in the bathroom, trying to wash icing from my hair in the school sink. That was one of many reasons why I am now no contact with him. Story 8. I had my painting exhibited in a gallery for the first time. It was a small gallery, so I informed my family about the date and time. There would be food and drinks available. Only my mom attended with me. Story 9. Announcing our pregnancy. An attorney and an occupational therapist. We both have advanced degrees, own our home, are married, and have stable jobs. My mother treated me as if I were a teenager who had made poor choices. She said things to me that would be inappropriate to say to anyone. It still hurts 6 years later, and my mom has passed away without ever apologizing. I hope that someday, if my daughter decides to have children, I can tell her I'm happy for her, that she'll be an amazing mother, and that I'm very proud of her. I already tell her how proud I am of her. Story 10. My mom was notorious for ruining my events. She was the only one allowed at my high school graduation. I graduated during COVID, because I knew if I invited any other family members, she would inevitably pick a fight and make the entire day about her. She found a way to do it anyway. She almost made me late to the graduation because she sat on the couch until literally 5 minutes before it started and refused to get up or get ready. When I brought up the time to her, she said I was weird. I had to threaten to start walking to the graduation before she finally got up, threw on the raggediest jeans and top she had, and went to the graduation. When I finally walked the stage and they released everyone to their parents, everyone's parents were there with flowers and all dressed up to take pictures. My mom went to sit in the car and brood. It was so bad that even my best friend's mom got irritated with her and commented on her behavior. I went to the car to switch into my heels. We graduated on my school's new football field, so they banned heels on the turf. I made a light-hearted, self-deprecating joke about my heels looking crazy. She said, "I thought you knew they looked like that." We went to dinner and she was fine because, of course, I was in my cap and gown, so we were getting attention, and she had to save face. She then proceeded to drive to the local library and apply for jobs for 3 hours. On the way there, I asked her to drop me off because we literally had to pass our house to go to the library, and I was tired. There was no need for me to go with her to apply for jobs. She refused and made me sit there with her while she applied for jobs and complained about her job. She has been complaining about it my entire life. She didn't even respond to the job offers she received that day, and she wonders why I don't speak to her. Story 11. My college graduation was overshadowed by my mom, who got drunk and tried to make the day about herself. She was also being really mean. Story 12. After over a decade of struggling and working many odd jobs, I was finally able to make a living full-time as an artist in one of the 3 most expensive cities in America. Took a lot of hard work, and I was really struggling with imposter syndrome. One day, I was in a jewelry boutique with unique pieces and saw a beautiful pair of earrings. While making small talk with the clerk, I was asked what I do. "I'm an artist," I said without thinking for the first time. I didn't even realize I had done it. I felt so good that I bought the earrings, which I could not really afford at the time, to commemorate the occasion. Later, I was out with friends and my then boyfriend. My friend complimented the earrings, and after I shared the story, my boyfriend dismissed it, saying, "That's not a big deal." Well, I wear them to this day, and every aspect of my life is better now that he isn't in it. Story 13. This has happened more times than I can count. I get all dressed up for some event or gathering I'm excited about. I eagerly show my partner my outfit. My partner then asks, "Where do you think you're going dressed like that?" Or, "Who are you getting all dressed up for?" Story 14. My father's friend was a dancer, and a significant opportunity came up to perform with an important troupe in New York City. She was so excited that she paid for her childhood dance teacher to travel there to see the show. On opening night, my dad was in charge of bringing the teacher to the theater. They watched the show and then went to the stage door to meet the friend. The teacher's first words were, "You still have that one curl of hair that always falls out of your bun." Dad says one of his few regrets in life is that he didn't confront that teacher for ruining his friend's big night. He believes no jury would have convicted him for assault if they had seen the heartbroken look on the poor dancer's face. Story 15. My sister is a complete narcissist. She makes every conversation about herself, either her children, or someone she knows. Time with her is just a non-stop monologue. If she can't make it about her, she will ruin the moment for someone else. When my wife received a promotion to chief financial officer at a sizable company, my sister said, "Well, accounting is just addition and subtraction." After my brother's traumatic divorce, he mentioned that he actually had a date. My sister replied, "Well, you need to buy some decent clothes first. You look like you climbed out of a dumpster." Another brother visited for his annual trip. He was hanging out with his nieces and nephews, generally being the center of attention. Out of the blue, my sister said, "Well, let me tell you about your uncle's disastrous first marriage. When I was single, I kept my dating life private because I didn't want her opinion. So, when the time came to announce my engagement to my wife, my sister said, 'Well, that's a surprise. I figured you were gay.' This is typical at every family gathering. When she is called out on her behavior, she resorts to gaslighting and says, 'I was just kidding. You can't take a joke.' Anytime someone experiences a moment of triumph or a small victory, she says something discouraging. I'm a sociable person, but I don't give her any insight into my life. Story 16. In the days before I had to put my beloved cat down, I told my then husband that I planned to take her outside for the first time to sit under the tree in the backyard. I waited for the weather to be perfect before bringing her outside. It would be our moment, enjoying life together one last time. Right before I planned to go out with her, he told me he had already taken her outside. I started crying, asking him why he had to take away this first and last moment from me. He said he didn't know why. I think he just liked to see me hurt. The day after she passed away in my arms, he said I euthanized her too soon because she had eaten that day. He was horrible whenever someone I loved died. It always had to be all about him. Story 17. I recently got my dream job with amazing benefits, travel opportunities, insurance, company equity, and more. I'm also working with friends and family who love and support me, and I get to travel and have adventures all around the country for this position. My current boss took it personally when I told her I'm leaving. I don't dislike her, but I'm just not happy at the company. Since then, she has been attacking me and accusing me of using her and trying to undermine her. I also should have given her 3 months' notice instead of the 1 month I initially provided. It's been like this for 4 days now, and I have about 3 weeks to go. It's really taking away from the happiness and excitement I've been feeling, and I'm exhausted. Story 18. My ex ruined every holiday, birthday, event, and moment of happiness I ever had. Even if it was just friends at a barbecue, it didn't matter. She had to be the center of attention. The second she wasn't, none of my friends talked to me again, and somehow it was my fault that no one liked her. Story 19. My mom. After stressing for a year about some charges I received while being young and impulsive, I was facing jail time. I pleaded guilty with no conviction recorded. I felt a sense of relief. I communicated to my mom that I wanted to enjoy this feeling for a while. Felt like the biggest weight had been lifted from my shoulders. However, she immediately started an argument with me over something so minor that I don't even remember. I didn't care. It wasn't the fight itself that bothered me. It was the fact that I just wanted to savor the relief from the stress. She didn't respect that and made it about herself. Life went on, of course, and there are far worse situations, but this one has stuck with me. Story 20. I met the dog of a friend who immediately ran up to me, very excited for attention. I was happy because I love animals and looked at my friend to share the enthusiasm. She became upset that the dog did not approach her first. This occurred several times. It's a small thing, but it reveals a lot about her character. Story 21. We were in a cabin in the woods on a very hot summer night. There was a small lake nearby with no one else around. A magical light filled the area. As the sun doesn't really set in northern Europe during midsummer, birds were singing, and the air smelled like all the flowers blooming. Basically, it was a paradise for me. I decided to go for a little night swim. The water felt silky and the temperature was perfect. Just as I was going in, my mom ran after me, screaming and nagging about swimming alone. She kept complaining the whole time, completely ruining the moment. I know it might sound silly, but I had never experienced such a beautiful moment in nature. Felt like a fairy tale, and I was trying to indulge in it. Instead, it turned into frustration as I listened to her complaints and couldn't find a moment of peace. I'm still annoyed when I think about it. Story 22. My mom tried to ruin my first publication and my wedding. She didn't succeed, but she gave it her all. Story 23. Having our baby was a great experience. When people were finally able to visit, my mother-in-law walked in, crying and begging for forgiveness. Of course, everyone felt sorry for her, which shifted the focus away from our baby. The reason for her tears was that she had not made a single payment, which was just £5 a week, on the pram she had requested as her gift for the birth. After 9 months to address this, I felt let down and was made to feel cruel and unsympathetic, even though I never mentioned it to her. When my mother went to buy the pram, which we needed for the baby to sleep in, I was called every name imaginable and was told that I was rubbing her face in the debt. It's strange how she always had £5 for a bottle of brandy every week during that time. She ruined everything with her negativity. Story 24. I recently got engaged. After years of disappointing my parents and everyone losing hope that I would ever get married, it finally happened. I am engaged. My fiancé and all my friends agree to celebrate. As we get ready to head out, we accidentally stumble upon my brother, Ross, and my best friend, Rachel, making out in the hallway. They stole my thunder. Story 25, Graduation. My dad asked me why I didn't do better when I graduated cum laude with a 3.76 GPA, while the bar for my school was 3.7. He criticized me for not finishing on time. My advisor was later revealed to have engaged in academic tampering. I completed a semester early and had a 3.0 GPA in high school. I was proud of myself but chose not to participate in the graduation ceremony and instead worked the broadcast out of spite. Story 26. Bringing my youngest home from the hospital after he was born was not the way my husband had hoped. He blamed me and many others who care about our family. I dislike recalling that day now. Story 27. On Christmas Eve, my mother broke down crying about how her children were sexually abused when they were younger. Some of her sisters, who live far away and don't visit often, were there. It was the first time in a long while that my mother was in the same room with her mother and all her sisters. This situation broke something in her and turned into a significant emotional support moment on Christmas Eve. In one way, it was healthy for her. However, I believe that a private sisterly gathering on December 23rd or December 26th, without other people present, would have been more effective. Story 28. Enjoying a beautiful day and making a happy comment for my boyfriend to respond about another girl really ruins my day. Story 29. I have lost count of the number of times I have recalled happy memories from my childhood, only to have my parents diminish them by talking about how awful it actually was. It makes me wonder if they have a lot of resentment built up. Story 30. My older sister would ruin birthdays and Christmas by trying to open my gifts and blow out my candles. She is now 37, has kids, and does the same thing. Story 31. I was getting my hearing aid fitted on my deaf side. My sister was ready with the camera to capture the perfect shot for social media. I couldn't even react with joy because I didn't want it to go viral as a feel-good story. Story 32. I spent 2 days building a huge snow sculpture of Godzilla, and my parents wanted a picture of me with it. My dad used my phone to take 4 pictures. I looked at them and deleted 2 because I had my eyes closed. He yelled at me, saying, "Everything is not all about you. You're so selfish." Then he passively and aggressively apologized. But halfway through the sentence, he got angry again, and it ended up being an accusation rather than an apology. He has a true gift for ruining moments. Story 33. The first time I told my now wife that I loved her was after we danced at my sister's wedding. She kissed me passionately, and my older, oblivious cousin walking by loudly said, "Oh hey, lovebirds, get a room." I was unkind in my response, and she didn't speak to me again until my son was born. Story 34. My ex used to criticize my interests, such as tarot card reading. She would tell me that it was foolish and that I was silly to believe any of it actually worked, also calling it cringeworthy. Over time, I became quiet about a lot of my interests and tried to be someone I wasn't to gain her approval. Ultimately, I became very depressed and realized I didn't want to be with someone who made me feel scared and unable to be myself. She also said negative things about bisexual individuals, claiming they weren't truly bisexual if they only dated men. As a result, I convinced myself I was a lesbian and tried to identify as such throughout the relationship. I recognized, toward the middle and end of our time together, that I was changing everything about myself for someone who didn't bring me happiness, leading me to feel as though I was experiencing an identity crisis. When we ended things, I said some hurtful things, and it made her see me as a monster, but I wasn't the only one in the wrong. I took responsibility for my actions, but she did not. There's a long story about how things unfolded, but I'll summarize it here. I ended up cheating on her, which I had never done to anyone I've dated. While I feel remorseful, I remember that she cheated on me with her then best friend, and I forgave her even though I didn't forget and felt angry for years. Story 35. I had my own apartment and converted a storage closet, about 4 by 4 feet, into a room for my cat, including her litter box and a cat tower. I invited my mom over to celebrate having my own place, When she saw the cat room, she said, "Wow, a room for a cat. I didn't even have my own room growing up." I replied, "Yes, that is unfortunate, and I'm sorry. Would you like my cat's room?" Story 36. We were on our way to get legally married when my parents picked us up to take us to the registry. My dad shouted at us in the car over something trivial. Story 37. My college graduation was a hard-won achievement. My dad's unpleasant sister traveled from 4 states away to attend the ceremony. My graduation day coincidentally aligned with a royal wedding. She spent the entire ride to the school and back watching it on her phone, trying to get me to watch with her, which gave me motion sickness on top of my nerves. After the ceremony, we went out to lunch, and I enjoyed a nice dessert that my aunt declared was a dessert fit for a royal wedding. No one at the table appreciated it when I corrected her with, or a college graduation. She spent the rest of the day gazing dreamily at her phone, while 2 people who would never know she existed kissed on camera. A few days later, we had my party, and she locked me in her bedroom 10 minutes before the start time and forced me to apply essential oils to cure my skin condition. I barely remember the party because I felt shameful and unattractive, and I smelled heavily of lavender. The only thing I recall is when I cut my cake, and she exclaimed, "Yay!" as if I were 4 years old and she was watching my first dance recital. Story 38. Opening the restroom door as I'm dropping a monumental deuce. A full-on swinging stander. The blunt end of that substance was deep in the porcelain pipe, and I was nowhere near pinching off the pointy end. Bummer. Story 39. We created a fun pregnancy announcement game for my side of the family on Christmas Eve, so all of our aunts, uncles, and cousins would find out together. Grandparents were informed earlier. We played the game, which involved a plastic wrap ball filled with goodies, until reaching the last item, a pacifier. Everyone was enjoying the game, and when my great-aunt unwrapped the pacifier, everyone looked around. My cousin exclaimed, "You're pregnant." My aunt slammed her hands on the table and began to pout and cry because I became pregnant before her daughter, who was 2 years older and was married 4 years before me. It completely overshadowed my happiness as everyone focused on her. However, my uncle was excited for us and expressed his support while apologizing for his wife. She has always wanted to be a grandmother, so I hoped she would love my children too, but that was not the case. She told my mother that she felt like she wanted to die because she wasn't a grandmother. This negative attitude continued through our gender reveals, Christmases, birthdays, and other celebrations. She basically wanted nothing to do with my children until she learned that her daughter was trying to get pregnant but was struggling with various issues. I don't think I will ever feel comfortable around her again. It is disappointing because she used to be my favorite aunt while growing up. Since then, we haven't had another significant pregnancy announcement. Instead, we simply say we had a baby for most of the family, informing only immediate family members beforehand because they notice my weight gain. Story 40. I graduated with a Bachelor of Arts and a Master of Arts, but my mom still told me that my degrees were useless because she didn't understand them and that I should have pursued a nursing degree. My degrees have benefited her more times than I can count. Turns out she hates reading and thinks it's a waste of time, so my degrees in literature are also considered a waste. Story 41. My marriage proposal, albeit unintentionally. I took my wife to a section of the gardens of a National Trust property that we both liked to propose to her as a surprise. We were in the midst of celebrating her saying yes, when one of the gardeners entered and said we needed to leave because they were starting to lock up. Took the shine off it a little. Story 42. During college, I wasn't very social, but I had friends. There was one girl who, like me, barely knew anyone on the track team. She caught my interest right away. As time went on, she would get close and talk to me. Out of all the people, I hesitated to talk to her because I didn't know how to start a conversation. We got along well, but then COVID-19 hit. I remember the happy moments I had with her, and I often wonder what she has been up to. Life could have been different. Story 43. I was invited to my girlfriend's house, and she was alone. We had plans for some exciting times, but suddenly her relative came in unexpectedly. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.